What's up, everybody? What's up? Another stream ahead, another day ahead. Let's not talk about last night, dude. I'm ready to look at Tuesday's slate. Last night was just a complete fucking disaster. I mean, Mike Scott, Julius Randle, Denny Avia, like just basically everyone who sucked last night, I played them. So I'm excited to talk about Tuesday's slate. This is a fun one, man. Anytime we get these situations in Miami where we have, 7, 8 healthy players and that's all they got, like, just makes for one of those slates where you kind of load up on the Miami guys. I know it didn't work last night with the Sixers guys because a lot of them were pretty disappointing, but this feels like one of those slates where you want to have 3, maybe even 4 Heat in your lineups. Right now, I built out a lineup earlier, and I had 5 guys from the Heat in my lineup, so it's going to be a slate where we're really focusing on one team and then kind of working from there. We'll talk a lot about Miami in this stream. We'll talk about some of the other guys I like as well, but go ahead and get your questions in, guys. We'll spend about the next hour breaking down this slate, answering questions. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, we'll just start off with Dylan's question. Is playing 3 guys in the 3K range worth it? I would be able to fit in so many stars in. So, yeah, I think that is totally viable, especially if you're talking about the Miami guys like Iguodala, Precious Achiuwa, who I made a comment about. Precious Achiuwa, I think he might be my favorite of the punt values from Miami, just because he was already in the rotation to begin with. He was already playing 15, 16 minutes a night, kind of backing up Bam. Now that Bam's out and all these other guys are out, I think we could get 28, 30 minutes from Precious Achiuwa. He looks like one of the better values. He's been a point-per-minute player this year. You could play him. You could play Iggy. I'm not normally an Iguodala guy, but tonight I think Iggy might actually have to do something. He's going to have to contribute. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Like, I could see Iguodala having like 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and maybe a steal and a block, and finishing with 28, 30 DK points. Totally in his range of outcomes. Really, we just need this game to stay close. Like, if the game stays close, you're going to see a lot of guys from Miami come out as good values. The problem is if they get blown out like we saw yesterday with Philly, if they're down 30 heading into the fourth quarter, we're in big trouble because then Hero's going to be on the bench, Iguodala's going to be on the bench, Duncan Robinson's going to be on the bench. Then we're in trouble. But I don't really try to predict blowout, so I'm just going to play these Miami guys and pray to God the game stays close. First time here, man. Thanks for the info. I appreciate that, A-Cruz. Thank you for tuning in, man. Hope you enjoy the stream. Thoughts on Lonnie Walker? Yeah, I like Lonnie Walker tonight. I think without DeRozan, he really benefits. I wish his price was a little bit lower. Like, he's $5,400, which is a lot for a guy like Lonnie Walker. But last game without DeRozan, 39 Draftkings points, 30 minutes. He's a guy that can score. He can go get his own bucket. Without DeRozan, a high-usage player, Lonnie Walker's going to have the opportunity to contribute. So I think he's a really good option, even at $5,400. I like him more on Yahoo. If you play on Yahoo, Lonnie Walker's really cheap over there. So I do like him on Yahoo quite a bit. DraftKings, though, he's still fine. Is the Miami game a go? Yeah, it's expected to go as last I saw. I think I saw the Heat tweeted out something earlier today. Let me see if I can find that tweet. They tweeted out like we're good to go or something. So let's see. Yeah, so they tweeted out earlier today, 10:56 a.m. They said we have enough. So that makes me assume that they're playing tonight. The game's going to be a good to go. Yahoo small forward is really bad on Yahoo. I think you're looking to punt the position with Iguodala, Justin Holiday, like Danny Green. You can play at small forward. Like, I really don't want to pay up for LeBron. I mean, I'm not expecting Victor Oladipo to play. So if you don't pay up for LeBron, your next most expensive option is Will Barton. So you're either going to like Will Barton in the mid range, or you're probably going cheap here, which I think makes the most sense. I guess if Eric Gordon plays and John Wall is out, then you could go to Eric Gordon, but we don't have that news yet. Surprised we didn't get an update there from Houston on Wall and Gordon, but for right now, both Wall and Gordon are still questionable. But yeah, small forward, it's really bad on Yahoo tonight. Bounce back game from Steph Curry. Yeah, I think Curry should bounce back tonight. He was so bad last game. I mean, just god-awful game from Steph Curry. He couldn't make a shot, 2 for 16 from the field, 1 for 10 from 3. He's not going to do that every night. I think Curry definitely bounces back. He's a good stud option, but he'd be behind Jokic, behind Durant though. Like, Jokic and Durant have a lot more ahead of Curry. Even Sabonis I really like, especially if Oladipo's out. I think Sabonis is a really good pay-up option. Curry would be probably my 5th or 6th favorite stud, but if you're playing a lot of lineups, I would want some exposure to Steph Curry for sure. If Drummond is out, who is your Cleveland center value? What kind of depends on the starting lineup. If JaVale McGee starts, I think he's a top value play. We see this happen. We saw it happen with the Lakers last year. Like, JaVale McGee would start every game and he would play 14, 15 minutes. If he starts for Cleveland today and Drummond's out, I don't expect 15 minutes from McGee. I would expect more like 22, 24. I mean, they've played him pretty solid minutes behind Drummond. They've even played him a few minutes alongside Drummond this year. If Drummond sits, I'm expecting at least 22, 24 minutes from McGee, maybe even more. He'd be a really good value play, only 3,800. I would like him quite a bit, assuming he does start. Hopefully we get the news on Drummond before lock. Luckily, 7:30 game there, so we should have that news. Keldon Johnson's going to beast out. Yeah, I mean, I do like a lot of those guys from the Spurs. Keldon Johnson, Trey Lyles. I see a question about Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles started last game, played a ton of minutes with DeRozan out. I would assume they start him again. He's still really cheap. 35 minutes last game, 20 Draftkings points. I was not expecting that many minutes from him, given that he really hasn't been in the rotation, but Pop seems to trust him. He gave him big minutes. I would assume Lyles gets big minutes again with DeRozan still out. So, Johnson, Lyles, Aldridge, Murray, I think all four of those guys are viable today. Lonnie Walker as well. I mean, basically their whole starting lineup, I don't have any problem with any of those guys. Top pay-up option, it would be close between Jokic and Durant. I think given the savings, I would probably go with Durant, but I like both guys a lot. I'm going to have plenty of lineups with both Jokic and Durant in them. Just with no Kyrie Irving, it's going to be the Kevin Durant show. He's too cheap. He's 9,400. He should be like 10K, 10,500 whenever Kyrie's out. DraftKings did a pretty bad job not pricing him up like they should have. Any tips for Yahoo cash games? I only play DK cash as of right now. You just got to get familiar with the salaries. The salaries are a lot different on Yahoo than DraftKings. You're going to find guys that are really, really cheap on Yahoo that may not be as cheap on DraftKings. The pricing is pretty soft. You can kind of go stars and scrubs basically every night. Like guys like Lonnie Walker, $13. Dotson with Sexton Garland out is only $12. I mean, Duncan Robinson with all these dudes out from Miami is only $14. Like, there's just so much value in terms of the pricing on Yahoo. So you can play like 2-3 of those, $12, $14 guys and then just load up on, Kevin Durant, Jokic. If you want to play like Brogdon at 37, it's kind of, in terms of roster construction, you're playing the same plays, except you're able to fit in an extra stud on Yahoo, I would say, because their pricing is so soft. They're just really slow to price guys up. Like Hero's cheaper than Darius Garland on Yahoo. That just shows you how bad the pricing is. Hero, clearly one of the best plays of the day for sure, and he's way too cheap on Yahoo. Hey Noah, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do. You have the best fantasy content. Oh, I appreciate that, Jordan. I couldn't read your question, but thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Any Yogi Ferrell? I'm probably not going to be on Yogi Ferrell. He played like 16 or 18 minutes last game, and he was pretty productive. He averaged about a fantasy point per minute. I would say it's likely he probably plays about 20 minutes today. Maybe if Drummond's out, they do some weird things with their lineup and they'll play more 3-guard lineups or something. I guess Yogi Ferrell's fine, but I think there's just so much other value that I like today that really probably won't be going to Yogi Ferrell. Nets Nuggets, 230. Yeah, the Nets Nuggets game, highest total on the slate, close spread. One of the most appealing games for sure. Hopefully Drummond isn't called an active 1 minute before lock. Yeah, that's the Sexton stuff, man. Sexton getting scratched literally 1 minute before tip-off, just crazy. It happened back-to-back nights. Hopefully we get word on Drummond. We should get word on Drummond before lock, I'm sure. KD and run back with Joker with the Heat value. Yeah, that looks like one of the ways I'll be going for sure. Stack up KD and Jokic and then play a lot of those Heat cheap guys. Top Heat guys, in your opinion, put price into consideration. That's one of the big questions today. So ranking the Heat guys, factoring in price, I still think I want to get like Hero and Olynyk, even though they're the most expensive. I still think I want to have a lot of exposure to both those guys because I think if this game stays close, you're going to see like 40 plus fantasy points from Hero, probably 30 plus from Olynyk. They're definitely going to be guys you want exposure to. Then it would probably be the values for me. So I would probably go Hero number 1, Olynyk 2, Precious Achiuwa would be number 3. Probably Iguodala 4, Robinson 5. It would be close between Robinson and Iguodala. Like, those are the guys I'm the most confident in just because they have actually been in the rotation. They've been playing good minutes. I think after that, when it comes to Myers Leonard, Gabe Vincent, Chris Silva, Max Struss, I think you're just kind of throwing darts with those 4 guys. I think all 4 probably play at least 15 minutes. Maybe one of them gets like 25, 28 minutes. I will say that Miami is much more thin in terms of guards. Like, their only guards they have today are Hero, Robinson. I guess you could consider Iguodala a guard, even though he's more of like a wing. So they have like literally they have they have Hero and Robinson, and then their backup guards are Vincent and Struss. Where it's like big men, they got a decent amount of big men still. They got Olynyk, they got Achua, they got Myers Leonard, they got Chris Silva. So out of the bench guys, I think the one that's like out of the thin bench players, Leonard, Vincent, Silva, Struss, I would say probably like Vincent's the likeliest to play the most minutes out of those four. But still, I'm not really too confident in those guys. If I was playing a lot of lineups, I would mix those guys in. But, core values for me are definitely going to be like Achua, Iggy, Robinson, and then, obviously Hero and Olynyk are great plays too. I'm just going to have a lot of Miami. I'm probably going to have at least like 2, maybe 3 Miami guys in every lineup I make. Is Drummond out? He's not out yet, but he's questionable. He's on the 130 injury report, is questionable. But Garland and Sexton are both out. Brogdon and Shea or Harden and Keldon Johnson. If we know that John Wall is out, I would take the second. But if John Wall plays, then I would take the first. I would go Brogdon, Shea. Thoughts on this lineup or anything I can change? SGA, Duncan Robinson, Iggy, Olynyk, Sabonis, Hero, Kevin Durant, Achua. That looks pretty good to me, Dylan. I like that lineup quite a bit. Even though you got 5 Heat guys in there, I don't mind that because, like my lineup is the dummy lineup I built earlier is very similar to that. I like Olynyk, but does Embiid just beat the hell out of him and make him useless? Yeah, that is the worry. Like, whoever starts at center could definitely get into some early foul trouble against Embiid, whether it's Olynyk, whether it's Myers Leonard, whether it's Achua. That's a concern, but at this point, like, they're going to have to play those guys until they foul out because they really have no other bodies to turn to. So, even if they do pick up some early fouls, they're still going to have to play because they don't really have anyone else. What do you think of this lineup? Hero, Walker, Iggy, Durant, Jokic, Dotson, McDermott, Olynyk. I'm totally fine with that. Obviously, McDermott's kind of dependent on what happens with Oladipo, but for right now, it seems like Oladipo is going to sit. I saw a report earlier that he was like, they interviewed him after the game last night, and he seemed like he wasn't planning on playing today. So I'm assuming Oladipo is going to be out. Olynyk or Precious or play both. I think you can play both, but if I only had to choose one, I would definitely prefer Olynyk. If Drummond is out, how many Cavs is too many? Maker or McGee better play? I think McGee's the better play because he's the way more productive player. I wouldn't be loading up on the Cavs even if Drummond's out. I think like Dotson, Nance, McGee are the guys I'd be looking to. But, Miami still is the team I think we want to target for value. But, yeah, if Drummond's out, I'm going to like McGee a lot. He's going to be a really good value. Yeah, I saw in the they had like Labs had their projected lineups out, and if like in the scenario that Drummond were to sit, they did have JaVale McGee in the projected starting lineup if Drummond were to be out. So I think McGee probably does start if Drummond sits. So for Yahoo GPPs, they're probably best to take a lot of mid-range guys. It'd be different since everyone's talking stars and scrubs. You can still play stars and scrubs. Maybe you take a lower owned star. So maybe, instead of playing Kevin Durant, you play someone who's going to be a little lower owned. Or instead of playing Jokic, maybe you play someone else. Like, you don't have to just go mid-range. You can still play those cheap guys that project really well. You just don't want to play like all the popular guys. You want to have at least, 1 or 2 guys that are somewhat low owned. Do you like Karis tonight? Yeah, Karis LeVert, I think he's fine, but his price is up. It's Kevin Durant that's going to be running the offense. Like, Kevin Durant's the guy that I want to play from Brooklyn. LeVert started. He played good minutes, but still, I think Durant's the guy we want from Brooklyn tonight. Hero's going to play 45 minutes. If the game stays close, I think Hero will play a ton of minutes. I just worry that if it gets ugly and they're down like 20, 30 points, that they just, play all those other guys and Hero only plays like 28 minutes. But I think if the game is close, Hero's going to play as many minutes as he can handle. Like, if the Heat actually want to win tonight, they're going to play Hero big minutes. Drummond is likely going to sit given it's Achilles. Yeah, that's possible. I didn't know what kind of injury it was. I just saw he's questionable. We should have that news before lock, though, I would think. You like this lineup? Brogdon, Hero, Diallo, Durant, Aldridge, Robinson, McDermott, Dotson. Yeah, that looks fine. I'm not the biggest fan of Diallo. I know some other people are playing him, but I'm probably not going to be on Diallo. I know he's been playing really well, but he's been shooting the lights out of the ball. He's been getting a ton of steals. He's been playing like only 20, 22 minutes. I think I'm going to let other people chase that. If Diallo goes out there and shoots the lights out again, then so be it. But now that his price is up, I probably won't be chasing those Diallo games. I think there's just way better value today than Diallo. How would you approach a single entry? I think the way to go in single entry, at least the way I do it, you can kind of play like your optimal lineup, just play like a really, chalk build, what you think's the best lineup out there. And then maybe, you make 1 or 2 lower owned pivots. You don't need to have, 6 low owned guys in your lineup in a single entry tournament. You just have like 1 or 2 low owned guys and that should be enough to separate you from the field. So I would kind of build a chalky lineup and then, differentiate with maybe 1 or 2 spots. It's really all that it takes. Do you like SGA today? Yeah, I always like SGA. He's finally been playing well. The production's been there. The usage has always been there. It's about time he finally put up some big games. I do like this spot for him against the Spurs. The Spurs, they're not a team that we should be looking to shy away from. Like, the Spurs are not good defensively. They've been playing pretty fast this year too. Like, it's actually a pretty good matchup to go against the Spurs. So I do like SGA quite a bit. I think LeVert is a nice pivot off Durant. I mean, if you want to do that, you can. I personally probably won't be doing that, but I guess, in some chance that Durant has a bad game, that probably means that either he got hurt or he just couldn't make a shot or that LeVert, went off. So I guess you could make that pivot, but I probably won't be doing that myself. Just me, or does it feel like every lineup I make with stars and scrubs is super chalky? I mean, it could be. Like, this is one of those slates where if you have 3-4 Miami guys, if you have Jokic and Durant, you're probably going to be a little chalky, but you can still differentiate, with those last 2 spots. Maybe instead of playing Durant, you play Sabonis, or maybe instead of playing Durant, you try and get up to Curry. Like, you don't have to get too off the wall on this slate. You can play these chalky values and then just maybe differentiate in 1 or 2 spots, and that's really all you got to do. Everyone's going to be on Dotson. Osman could be the one that goes off. Yeah, Osman should benefit if Drummond's out. He would be, kind of like a low-owned pivot. I don't see many people going to him, even if Drummond's out. Like, everyone's going to look to Dotson and, Nance and JaVale McGee. Osman could be a low-owned guy worth considering for sure. Would Olynyk play in a blowout? I really have no idea. Probably not. Like, I would think they'd probably play Chris Silva in a blowout, or they play Myers Leonard in a blowout. So I would say that if it's a bad blowout and they're losing by like 30, Hero, Iguodala, Olynyk, Robinson, those are probably going to be the 4 guys on the bench. And then, the other 5 guys that they have, those will be the 5 guys out there. But then again, they have 3 bigs, so I don't know. Like, would they play Silva, Myers Leonard, and Achua all in a blowout? I don't know if all 3 of those guys would be on the floor. It just depends on, I guess, the coach. If Spoelstra decides, I don't really care, I'm just going to throw these guys out there and, let my other guys rest, and I guess they could do that. I mean, I have no idea what they do tonight. I'm just going into this slate assuming Miami wants to win, and they're going to play their normal guys as many minutes as they can until their freaking legs fall off. So I'm going pretty heavy on Hero, Olynyk, all those guys. People are really going to chase. Yeah, I mean, I'm not chasing the Diallo game. I'll let other people do that. Watch, he's going to go for like 40 fantasy points again to make me look stupid, but I'm not playing Diallo. Hero, Robinson, Iggy, Durant, Sabonis, SGA, Olynyk, Precious, what you think? I think that looks pretty good. That's very. I think I saw that lineup earlier. I think you got the same lineup as somebody else. Lonnie Walker is a lock. I wouldn't say he's a lock, but I think he is a good play since DeRozan's still out. Thoughts on Aldridge tonight? Yeah, I do like Aldridge quite a bit. I think he's too cheap on both sides. He finally had, somewhat of a big game last game with DeRozan out. Got big minutes as well, 37 minutes, 38 DK points. He should average probably a point per minute when DeRozan's off the floor, and it looks like Pop's going to give him 36 to 38 minutes as long as the game is close. So Aldridge definitely a guy I like at 6,300. He is too cheap on this slate for sure. It just, there's so many good pay-up options. There's so many good cheap plays. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to get to this mid-range today, but like Aldridge is definitely one of my favorite options in the mid-range. What's up, Chico? Appreciate you tuning in, man. Playing multiple lineups, I don't think it's a bad idea to chase Diallo. I mean, yeah, you could. Like, if you're playing multiple lineups, I don't know if I would full fade, but, if I'm only playing one lineup tonight, Diallo is not going to be in my one lineup. Jokic and Caruso or Sabonis and Duncan Robinson. Give me the second one. Give me Sabonis and Duncan Robinson. I like Jokic, but I'm not the biggest fan of Caruso. What are your thoughts on Okoro with these Yeah, so Okoro, he's been playing a ton of minutes. He just hasn't done anything. Like, he just hasn't really been good on a point-per-minute basis. He's still really cheap. He played 40 minutes last game, but he still only had 21 DK points in 40 minutes. Like, he could literally play 40 minutes and give you 15 points. I mean, he's a low-usage player. He doesn't really contribute much when he's on the floor. He just kind of stands in the corner. He's going to play a ton of minutes, so I guess that makes him viable, but I think there's more value plays today that give you more upside than Okoro does. Like, not Olynyk, but like Achua, even Iguodala, I think gives you more upside. Trey Lyles I'd rather go to. Just other guys I'd rather play over Okoro. Embiid only played like 4 minutes in the second half. I'm going to fade him today. I mean, if you did not play Embiid on yesterday's slate, you definitely got lucky. Embiid was absolutely smashing yesterday. He had 40 points at halftime, and then he played 4 minutes in the second half and did not play the rest of the game because of the blowout. I would assume he still plays today. I would assume they give him his full minutes today if the game is close. So, I wouldn't fade Embiid because of that. I guess you could maybe fade him if you think it's a blowout again. But, other than that, I think Embiid's still a really good play today. Brogdon or SGA? Give me Brogdon between those two, but I do like both quite a bit. Like, if Oladipo's out, it's just going to be Brogdon and Sabonis literally doing everything for the Pacers tonight. Like, you should expect big games from both those guys if Oladipo's out, because they don't have TJ Warren either. I've seen Hero play in blowouts a lot. I think we'll have big night. I can see 50+. I mean, yeah, they have played Hero before in blowouts. I don't know if they would do that tonight, but they might. You never know. So I think Hero, if he even gets like 28 minutes, he should hit value for sure. And if the game's close, he should probably play like 35, 36 minutes. And that could be when you get like a 50-plus point game from him, because he's just going to dominate the usage, going to take a ton of shots. And Tyler Hero's a guy that, if he starts knocking down shots, he's going to put up a big game. Because there's nobody that's going to take the shots away from him. They're just going to keep giving him the ball and telling him to go shoot. Pivot from Aldridge to Wiggins. I mean, I don't really like that pivot. I'm not a big Andrew Wiggins fan. I rarely play him whenever the Warriors are fully healthy, so I'd still play Aldridge there, honestly. Oh, Hero, Yogi, Walker, Olynyk, McGee, KD, Sabonis, Jamal. Thoughts? I mean, that's solid. You're obviously waiting on news for Drummond, but yeah, if Drummond's out, you could definitely play McGee. I wouldn't mind Yogi either, but I still think there's other guys I'd probably play over Yogi, but that's fine for now. Brogdon, Jamal Murray, LeVert, Clarkson, Johnson, Osman, Lyles, McGee, and Jokic. I mean, you don't have any Heat guys in there, which I guess would be a little bit worrisome, but I mean, that's still a solid lineup even with no guys from the Heat. How about that brick house Danny Green? Dude, Danny Green, I didn't watch the game, but he shot 0 for 9 yesterday. He could not make a freaking shot to save his life. So bad. Danny Green was like 66% owned in the Yahoo tournament yesterday. 66% owned, Danny Green. Jesus. Any confidence in Wiseman? Not really. Like, if you told me he would get 25 minutes, I have a lot of interest, but like they've shown no inclement to give him big minutes. Like, I think he's just been playing like high teens in minutes recently. Like 17, 15, 18, 17. Like, he's just not getting a ton of minutes. It's hard to trust him even at 4,400. He's going to be low owned though, so I guess, if by some chance he gets minutes, he's going to be a really good play, but your guess is as good as mine if he does get minutes. Jason, yeah, Wiseman just needs the minutes. That's right. They need to give him the minutes, but until they do, he's hard to trust. Thoughts on Isaiah Joe? Yeah, I still do like Isaiah Joe. I think he's definitely in play. I would assume that either he starts at shooting guard or they start Maxey at shooting guard. Joe had a pretty good game last game off the bench. They started Dakota Mathias, and Joe came off the bench. And he played well, 28 minutes, 32 DK points. He's been pretty productive so far when he's gotten the minutes. And, the Sixers are still very thin for this game. Ben Simmons is expected back, but they're still without a ton of guys. Like, they're still without Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, Bradley, I think is probable, but Court Moss, Thibault, Ferguson. Like, there's still 7 guys that are out for Philly. So I think Isaiah Joe will get, a good amount of minutes. He's still in play for sure. Hero, Olynyk, and James, or Alexander, LeVert, and Aldridge. Hero, Olynyk, LeBron, or Alexander, LeVert, Aldridge. Ooh, that's close. I think give me the first one, Danny. That's close for sure. What about a pivot from Jokic to Murray? Could be sneaky, but Murray's really struggled so far. I don't know what's going on with him, but his price has come way down. Like, I don't know if I would make that pivot, but if Jokic fails here, like if Jokic has a bad game, that likely means that maybe Jamal Murray's going off. And we know Jamal Murray's a guy that can just pop off for 50 Draftkings points at any time. He's been struggling lately. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I mean, you could make that pivot. Still probably not something that I would do, though, because I just think the offense is running through Jokic right now. He's just doing everything. Favorite plays on Yahoo today? I've been crushing Yahoo after watching your content, bro. Thanks for everything. Sure, Damien. I'm glad you're having success. So on Yahoo, I mean, it's hard to say, like, I hate just giving chalky guys, but like Tyler Hero's so cheap on Yahoo. He's $22. I really like him. Kelly Olynyk is too cheap on Yahoo. He's $16. I really like him. So Hero, Olynyk. Then, you can pay up for Jokic. You can pay up for KD. So, like, those are kind of like the 3-4 guys I'm really looking to on Yahoo. Like, all my Yahoo lineups are going to have at least 2 or 3 Heat players in them. I'm probably going to be all in on Hero and Olynyk on Yahoo. And normally I don't play 100% of 2 players, but this feels like a night where you could just get massive games from Hero and Olynyk. Like, Hero could drop 50, Olynyk could drop 40, and I would not be surprised at all. Yahoo center play, pivoting away from the high range, pivoting away from the top if you're not paying up. So in the mid-range, I like Jared Allen. I like LaMarcus Aldridge. I think both those guys look good in the mid-range on Yahoo. If you are going cheap, then the cheap guy I would really look to would be JaVale McGee. If Drummond's out, JaVale McGee is minimum salary, so feel free to play a lot of JaVale McGee if Drummond winds up out. Gasol or DeAndre Jordan at center. I mean, I don't really like either one of those guys. I guess if you made me play one, I'd go with DeAndre Jordan, but I'm not the biggest fan of either. Brogdon, Jamal Murray, SGA, Clarkson, Durant, Rudy Gay, JaVale McGee, Lyles, Gobert. I mean, that looks pretty solid. Still, I would want some Heat guys in there, but that's okay, Andrew. At least for now. Maxey Walker or Barton, and Jokic or Sabonis, SGA, Duncan Robinson. So Maxey Walker, Jokic, or Sabonis, SGA, Robinson. Give me Maxey Walker and Jokic, the first one, but that is pretty close, Dylan. I like both sides of that. Favorite play on the slate at power forward and point guard? I mean, not factoring in like ownership, just guys I think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to. KD at the top, Kelly Olynyk for cheap at power forward. That's factoring in Draftkings, Yahoo pricing, same thing. Point guard, it's probably Tyler Hero at the mid-range. If you're paying up, I do like Brogdon a lot. I think Brogdon and Sabonis are both really good plays today, especially if Victor Oladipo winds up out, which does seem likely. Dejounte Murray, a good play in GPP. You think he'd be a low-owned? Yeah, I do think Murray's going to be low-owned. People are not going to play him. He busted last game. There's just so many other guys that are getting ownership today. So, yeah, definitely like Dejounte Murray in tournaments, especially, no DeRozan. He should have a big game at some point. I do like him on both sites. What is the best site to win at? I've had the most success on Yahoo. That's just me personally, but it really comes down to, how you play, I guess. Yahoo used to have, every tournament on Yahoo used to be 10 entries max back in the day. That was when Yahoo was like the easiest to win at. It's a little bit tougher now because they do allow CSV edits. They allow 150 entries, but I can still say like Yahoo's probably the easiest site to win in my opinion. Both Spurs and OKC defenses suck. Yeah, both those defenses have been pretty bad this year. Like, I could see a pretty high-scoring game there. I do like guys on both sides of the Spurs-Thunder game. Hero, Walker, Bazley, KD, Kelly O, SGA, Precious, Miles Turner. That looks pretty good, Jay. I don't mind that lineup at all. Looks pretty good. Do I ever play tiers? No, I don't play tiers. I've never played it. I know some people that do, but I don't personally. Do you like this lineup? SGA, Hero, Iggy, Durant, Sabonis, Robinson, Lyles, Dotson. That looks pretty good, Jordan. I like that. Horton Tucker or Holiday. Between those two, give me Justin Holiday. I'm assuming you mean Justin Holiday. Unless by some chance like LeBron or AD gets ruled out, then I would probably go with Horton Tucker. But for now, I'm just going to assume that LeBron and AD both play. They've been questionable like every game, and they've played like every game, so I'm just going to assume they play. Dotson or Maxey. Between those two, ooh, that's close. I think Dotson might be a little safer. I mean, Maxey, I think has upside still. With Ben Simmons coming back, he definitely is more risky now, but I still like his upside. But I would probably go Dotson there. Dotson, we know, is just going to play a ton of minutes. No Garland, no Sexton, no Exum. Like, they just don't have any other guards to go to. You're going to get probably close to 40 minutes again from Dotson. Who are your top values under 4K? I mean, like, the Heat guys are going to be the first guys I look to. Precious Achiuwa, Andre Iguodala, I like from the Heat. Trey Lyles, I like as well as a value. If Drummond's out, you got JaVale McGee at 3,800. Those are some of my favorite values today. Thanks, Noah. I've been playing Yahoo since the beginning, but you're the only one that covers it. FYI, the year you pulled down the 10K, I finished 10th. Oh, that's awesome, T-Bone. I'm glad you enjoyed the content. I'll go back and check the tournament. I'll see where you were, see your username. Walker or Sheldon Johnson, who you like more? Sheldon Johnson? I don't know who you mean. Stanley Johnson? I'm assuming that's who you mean. I don't even know. Who is Sheldon Johnson? Oh, Keldon Johnson. Okay. Walker or Keldon Johnson? I think I'd probably go Keldon Johnson there. between those two. But I do have interest in both tonight with no DeRozan. I was like, Stanley Johnson, the Raptors aren't playing today. Why was you saying Stanley Johnson? Jordan Clarkson revenge game. Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. Why don't you like to play on FanDuel much? Thanks again for the live stream. You're the GOAT. I appreciate that, man. I just play on Yahoo. I play on Draftkings. I already have to manage lineups on both those sites, so it's tough, to manage lineups across 3 different sites. Probably just going to stick to DK and Yahoo for now. 5 Miami players too much? I don't think so, Joel. I got 5 in my dummy lineup right now. Thanks for the content, man. Do you think McDermott starts for Oladipo? I think that's, most likely. They've been starting Justin Holiday for Warren, so it's either going to be McDermott or Aaron Holiday. But I think, even if Oladipo's out, McDermott should still get pretty good minutes, whether he starts or comes off the bench. Trey Lyles going for 30+. Yeah, I do like Trey Lyles. If they're going to give him big minutes again, he's a guy we're going to want to have exposure to. He's so cheap. Is Iggy in play? Yes, I do like Iguodala. He's definitely in play. Value at point guard. If you're talking about, let's just say 5K and below, I mean, Dotson, I think, is a good value at 5K. Garland and Sexton are both out, so he's someone you could look to. If Aaron Holiday starts, I mean, he could be viable at 3,300. I know we've been down this road before. Aaron Holiday will start. He'll play 28 minutes, and he'll give you 15 points. But now that Oladipo is likely out as well, they just don't have any other guys. They're really running short in terms of bodies. I mean, the Pacers already run a pretty tight rotation, so if Aaron Holiday is, if he's playing, if he's starting for Oladipo, 3,300 could be a point guard value play. I don't see anyone going to him, so he's going to be low owned. Does have potential for upside, especially if they use him maybe as a backup point guard. Whenever Brogdon's off the floor, they let Aaron Holiday be the point guard. Then you could definitely catch some upside there. He's had big games in the past before. I'm seeing people talk about Monte Morris, but I'm not really on Monte Morris. I mean, he's going to play 22, 24 minutes. He's 4,200. Even if he gets 25 points, which is solid for his price tag, he's still not a guy you're going to really have to have. I just don't, whenever Jamal Murray and Gary Harris are healthy, I just don't really play Monte Morris. Do you like Diallo tonight? Me personally, I'm not playing Diallo. I know he's had some big games recently, but I think if you're playing Diallo tonight, you're kind of point chasing, in my opinion. He's been shooting really well. He's been getting a bunch of steals. It's kind of fluky stuff. He's gonna come back down to earth at some point, and he's been doing it in 24 minutes. Diallo is not going to average nearly 2 fantasy points per minute. He's just not that kind of player. Even if he plays 28 minutes, he could still give you 20 DK points. He's just not a guy that you should expect 40+ DK points from. And if he goes out there and scores 40+ again, then so be it. Aaron Holiday, great, but not offensively, so not for fantasy. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I've watched some Pacers games this year when he started, and he just he's not really involved in the offense. He doesn't really touch the ball much. He just kind of stands in the corner, which is obviously, for fantasy, we don't want our guys doing that. Yahoo having Dotson as a shooting guard is a crime to my lineup. Yeah, that kind of, I talk about roster construction. It does suck. There's so many good cheap shooting guards on Yahoo. You got Robinson at 14. You got Walker at 13. Dotson obviously at 12. You could punt with some guys too, Yogi Ferrell's shooting guard, Aaron Holiday's shooting guard. Let's see, Max Struss, Isaiah Joe. These guys are shooting guards if you want to take a shot on them. So many good cheap shooting guards. Duncan Robinson, Lonnie Walker. Those are the 2 guys that do really stand out. Walker, 13, Robinson, 14. Picking between Robinson, Walker, and Dotson on Yahoo, that's going to be really, really tough. You like Gabe Vincent? I think Gabe Vincent, if I was going to take a shot on one of the bench guys from Miami, I think he would be the guy, just because they're more thin on guards than they are big men. I could see Gabe Vincent playing 30 minutes tonight. I don't know what he does in terms of production. I have no idea who he is. I've never heard of him before, but they just don't have any other bodies, so he should get at least probably 20, 22 minutes. Between him, Leonard, Chris Silva, Max Struss, between those 4 guys, I think you're just throwing darts, but if I had to play one, it would be close between Vincent or Leonard. Leonard might start, so maybe he'd be the guy you go to, but Vincent's definitely in play. Will Kelly Olynyk play? Last I saw, Kelly Olynyk was probable. He's expected to play. Love the vids. I appreciate that, Kyle. Glad you enjoy them. Any absolutely no way players? I mean, I wouldn't say that. Like, there's never anybody that I'm just saying. I mean, guys that aren't going to play, yeah, there's absolutely no way I'm playing them. But like, even if I get make a lineup with Diallo in it, I mean, I'm not going to be mad. I just don't expect Diallo to be a guy I have a lot of exposure to, especially if he's going to be popular. Like, if a lot of people are going to play Diallo and chase that, like, I'm just not going to have much exposure at all. Al Horford going off again can see big numbers. I haven't played Al Horford like at all this season. Like, has he even been doing that well? Like, I don't even know because you never see him like in any winning tournament lineups. Like last game he had 38 DK points, which is his best game of the season. But yeah, I mean, I just don't play Al Horford. Like, what is his upside at this point? Like, it's so unlikely that Al Horford's going to be a guy that wins you a slate at this point. Is Patty Mills and Rudy Gay two good picks to pay up for studs? And is Yogi a good cheap option? I mean, Patty Mills I think is fine. I think he got a lot of minutes last game because Devin Vessel got hurt. He played, how many minutes did he play? Yeah, he played 29 minutes. Patty Mills has always been a guy when he gets minutes, he can be productive, he can score, he's a great scorer, he can get assists. He's up to 5,100 though, which is a lot for Patty Mills, even when he is playing like 30 minutes. I mean, those are fine plays, but none of them, like Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, even Yogi, like none of those guys are like core values for me. Yogi, I think, is in play just because he's minimum salary, and he got like 18 minutes last game. I would assume he gets about the same today, if not a little bit more. I could see taking a shot on him at minimum salary. But like Mills and Rudy Gay, I don't think I'm going to have too much exposure to. JaMychal Green tearing up the Nets in 24 minutes. I mean, I'm not going to play JaMychal Green. Like, I just don't play guys that, need, like, guys that are only going to play 22, 24 minutes, and they're, like, it's not like JaMychal Green's minimum salary. I mean, he's 4,300. If he was 3K, I think it'd be a different story, but at 4,300, like, even if he gets 25 points, which is good for his salary, he's still not really helping you win anything. Like, there's just so many guys that are, like, close to minimum salary today that I would rather play. Is George Hill viable? I mean, he's in play. He's going to play 26, 28 minutes, but, I'm not on George Hill personally on this slate. McDermott or Iguodala? I think that's close. I'd probably rather play Iguodala, but, McDermott is definitely viable if Oladipo's out, which seems likely. Is there a DFS site you recommend for lineups? I mean, if you're talking about, like, buying line, I would not buy lineups. I would just, if you're talking about, like, an optimizer, if you want to, optimize your lineups, use your own projections or buy some projections, you could do that. But, if you're trying to buy lineups from somebody, I would not do that at all. Any particular reason why Diallo has taken double-digit shot attempts back-to-back games? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's coming off the bench, and he's been like their sixth man kind of. Like, he's a guy that can score. I just don't know if we should expect him to, put up 40-plus DK points like he has been. Just at 5,300, man, like, I just don't want to play Diallo at 5,300. If people are going to chase that, like, there's so many other guys I'd rather go to on the slate. Don't like Aaron Holiday in my lineup. Yogi Ferrell a good punt. I mean, yeah, Yogi Ferrell's fine. We talked about him earlier. Nance, if Drummond's out, yeah, Nance would be a guy that would get a boost. I haven't really talked about him, but I would assume they either start Nance at center or they start JaVale McGee at center. If Nance gets the start at center, like, he would be a really good option because when he plays center, like, he is really productive. His rebounding numbers see a big spike. He's just a guy that can kind of, contribute in all categories. He can stuff the stat sheet. If Drummond's out, I like Larry Nance a lot, and I think he's going to go overlooked on this slate. With so many good punt values, so many good stars. Not all these mid-range options are going to be lower owned than they should be, and Larry Nance will definitely be one of them. So, yeah, I do like him a lot if Drummond's out. Duncan Robinson or Dotson? Yeah, that's a really close one for me. I think Duncan Robinson, but I like both quite a bit. Keldon Johnson and Isaiah Joe or Lonnie Walker and Dotson? Give me Lonnie Walker and Dotson between those two. Matthias or Joe, okay value with Ben coming back. I think Joe is okay. Isaiah Joe. Matthias, he got big minutes as well. He started last game. I don't know if he's going to start again. I mean, both should probably play about the same amount of minutes. I think Joe, he's a guy that can do a little bit more, in terms of peripherals, whereas Matthias is more scoring dependent. So probably would rather go to Isaiah Joe. Like, Matthias is kind of like a poor man's Court Moss. He's just going to come off the bench, take a ton of threes. Joe can actually, can rebound a little bit, can get some assists, can get a few defensive stats. So I feel like he gives you a little bit more upside. Dort as a GPP flyer, I'm not really on Dort tonight. he's not really been doing anything. Like even with his minutes, like even though he's playing solid minutes, like he just hasn't been productive at all. Like probably not going to be a guy I really look to. Is having $800 left over okay? I have Iggy Olynyk and Achua, and I don't know what to do with the leftover money. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Like on a main slate, I wouldn't leave probably more than 1,000, if that. I mean, 800 is a lot to leave, but this is one of those slates where you're going to see a very good amount of ownership concentrated on a certain amount of players. So, leaving salary is a good way to get contrarian on this slate. So I don't mind that. But normally I wouldn't leave that much on a main slate, but today's slate I think it's fine to do so. Durant or Sabonis? I like both a lot, but give me Durant between the two. What are your core picks / lineup today? Well, I don't give out lineups, Kevin. I'm never going to give out lineups, but if you want my core plays, those are posted on Patreon, so you can check that out. Link down below in the description. Thanks for streaming. Great channel. I appreciate that, Jav. Or Jav, I don't know how to say your name, but thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Hero Duncan, Lonnie Walker, Durant, Aldridge, Maxey, Achua, Brogdon lineup. That looks pretty solid. I like that, Brian. I don't mind that. Hero, Dotson, Iguodala, Durant, Sabonis, Murray, Achua, and Olynyk. Caught the end of this after teaching. Been enjoying this going live. Yeah, appreciate that, Chase. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying the streams, and that lineup does look pretty good. Is Chris Silva playing today? I really have no idea. He's going to be active. Who knows if he actually gets any minutes, but he's one of the riskier options from the Heat just because he could be one of the guys that actually doesn't play. They still have a good amount of bigs. They have Achua, Olynyk, Myers Leonard. Like Silva, even though they only have 9 healthy bodies, like Silva could still not play. I really have no idea. But like if you told me Silva was going to play like 20 minutes tonight, I would have a lot of interest in him because he is a really good point per minute player. Chris Silva is. Yes, don't buy lineups, people. DK already takes a cut from every contest you enter. There's enough good free info out there. Appreciate your video, man. Good job. Yeah, Kevin, like, you totally get it. I mean, I would not buy lineups. Even, like, premium content, like, I put a lot of time and effort into my content on Patreon, but I still like to put up free stuff for everyone. There's so much good free content out there. Like, you don't need to buy lineups or buy stuff from people. Although, if you want to check out my Patreon content, you can, but I'm never going to force anyone to, do that. It's just there for the people that want extra content from me. I really enjoy putting these videos out on YouTube, streaming, doing this for free. It's still so fun for me. Isn't the Heat game canceled? No, it's good to go last I saw. The Celtics and Bulls game, that one was canceled, but this game's good to go last I saw. And, yeah. The Celtics Magic game for tomorrow, that's already been postponed as well. So I think the Celtics are like the team that's really in trouble right now. How do you feel about Coro? Yeah, we talked about Coro earlier. He's getting so many minutes, but he's just not that productive of a player to where like I would really want to even go to him on this slate. Like he could play 40 minutes and give you 15 fantasy points. I'm not hearing much Laker talk today. I mean, yeah, the Lakers are just a team that I don't really play a ton of. I mean, LeBron and AD, they've been good they've been like a good team, but for fantasy, neither one of those guys are putting up big ceiling games. Like, have you even seen AD or LeBron in a winning tournament lineup this season? Like, I don't think I have, unless it's like a 2-game slate or something. Like, I just feel like I never really have to pay up for LeBron or AD right now. Like, there's just so many other guys that give you way more upside. That moment when you are starting a lineup with all those cheap guys and you have 3 players. Oh yeah, so many cheap guys on Yahoo. Like you can play probably 3-4 studs on Yahoo tonight. Great info as usual. I appreciate that, heavy hands. Thank you. My guy yesterday, I sunk really bad, but I'm back here because you keep it real. Content's on point. Keep up the work. Sorry I'm late. If Miami game is not a go, who's your next best value? Well, I'm expecting the Miami game to go. I do appreciate that, JM. I'm expecting the Miami game to play, but I would say like next best value outside of Miami. I think if Drummond's out, JaVale McGee looks like a really good value. Trey Lyles, if he starts again, looks like a really good value. Those are some guys you could look to outside of Miami, but the Miami game, I think it's going to play. And yeah, me too, man. In terms of like sunken really bad, dude, oh God. Yesterday's slate was brutal for me. Just got everything wrong yesterday. I was so overweight on just everyone that sucked. KCP or THT? I mean, I don't really like either one, but if I had to pick one, I guess I'd probably go with THT. I'm not the biggest fan of either tonight. Justin Holiday and Pascal, would you roster them since they are cheap? Justin Holiday, I don't mind. He's going to start, most likely. If Oladipo's out, he'd just get even more opportunity. He's never a guy you feel confident playing, but the minutes should be there. So between him or Pascal, I'd rather roster Justin Holiday. I think it's hilarious that people buy lineups or any content you are buying public and available info. I mean, yeah, that's true. There's so much free content out there that buying lineups is stupid. Usually people that sell lineups anyway are losing players to begin with. So if you had to choose between Iggy and Precious for the utility spot, would you go with Precious because he's more likely to play if the game blows out? I mean, yeah, Precious is definitely, I think if it blows out, Precious will still be out there. So he is definitely the safer option between him and Iggy. And I think he gives you more upside than Iggy as well. Like, Precious he's been a point per minute player this year. If him and Iggy play the same amount of minutes, I think Precious is much more likely to outscore Iggy. But I like both quite a bit. Iggy, Precious, and Kelly as Heat. Yeah, I think all three of those guys are in play for sure. Struss going to play for the Heat. It seems like it. He's going to be active, and they only have 9 healthy guys. So I'm assuming Max Struss does get some minutes, but still, he's like one of the harder guys to trust from Miami tonight. Struss, Vincent, Leonard, Silva, like those are the 4 guys that are really, you just don't know what their minutes are going to look like. The other 5 guys, I feel pretty confident get at least like 25 minutes. Unrelated, McGregor or Port. I'll be honest, bro, I don't watch like any MMA. I guess if I had to choose one, Conor McGregor, the name that I know, so I'd pick him. Lakers just coasting right now. Yeah, they kind of are. I mean, they're just winning games and not like you're not seeing LeBron put up 70 burgers. AD's not putting up 70 burgers. Like, they're just doing what they got to do to win. Hero, Robinson, Keldon Johnson, Durant, Horford, SGA, McDermott, Dotson. That looks pretty solid. I'm not the biggest fan of Horford, but the rest looks pretty good. Vandal, Eric Gordon is 66%, 34%, 22%. Eric Gordon. I mean, yeah, Eric Gordon's fine. I'd like him more if John Wall were to be out, but yeah, Gordon's in play. I definitely will like Gordon a lot, though, if John Wall winds up out. Keep up the good work, Noah. Appreciate that, Obi-Wan. Will do, my man. Love the content, man. Always keep it 100. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate that. Mike Scott is dead to me. Yeah, Mike Scott's dead to me, too. Fuck Mike Scott, dude. God, I can't believe I rostered so much of that dude last night. Literally had him in half of my lineups. LeBron, Sabonis, or KD. I mean, yeah, it'd be KD between those 3. I would rank them, like, reverse order. So KD number 1, Sabonis 2, and then LeBron 3. Should we worry about any blowouts tonight? I mean, the game that seems likely to blow out would be the Sixers and Heat game, just because the Heat, like, are running out their B team. But, I mean, the Sixers are pretty thin as well. Like, they got they got Embiid, and they got Ben Simmons. But, after those 2 guys, it's a bunch of scrubs as well for the Sixers. I know there's a low total in that Sixers game. I think the spread is like 7 points right now. Like, that seems the most likely game that would get ugly. I guess the Cleveland game, like, Cleveland could definitely get blown out against Utah, but, I'm not really fading any games, worried about blowout. I'm just going to play the guys I like, and if the games blow out, then so be it. I basically say that, like, every freaking video. Price not in consideration. Who's your favorite play on the whole slate? I mean, probably Tyler Hero. Him or Kelly Olynyk. Hero, Dotson, LeVert, Durant, Olynyk, PJ Dozier, JaMychal Green, SGA. I mean, some of that looks good. PJ Dozier, JaMychal Green, I'd be a little bit more iffy on, but the rest is okay. What's your favorite contest to play on DK? I mean, it depends on how you want to, like, how many lineups you want to play. They have some really good single entry contests. They're, low, like, I'm trying to think, like, not a ton of people in them. You don't want to play those contests with 50, 60, 70,000 people just because those are so hard to win. Like, find the low field contest with like 1,000 people or less. They have some good single entry ones. Even the 20 max contest, even though there's a lot of entries in the 20 max contest, like if you play 20 lineups, those are great to play. They have like a $1 20 max, a $3 20 max, a $4 20 max. If you play 20 lineups, you just throw your 20 lineups in all those. Like, that's a good way to play. The payout structure in those contests is like really like even as well. It's really spread out. Like the big 100K to first contest, man, they're just so top heavy. So many entries, like you can lose a lot of money trying to chase those big first place prizes. Best site to determine who is in or out. I am always struggling to find who is starting. So Reggie, probably I would recommend getting on Twitter. Twitter's your friend for news. Follow Fantasy Labs NBA at Fantasy Labs NBA. They tweet out starting lineups. They tweet out when games get postponed. They tweet out when guys are ruled out. Follow them. Turn on notifications for their account. That's the best way to get news. That's what pretty much everyone does, I think, at this point. You like either Holiday for Indy if Oladipo's out? Yeah, I think both Aaron Holiday and Justin Holiday are in play. I feel a little bit better about Justin Holiday just because he's been playing better. But, yeah, both those guys should get a ton of minutes because, they're no Oladipo, no Warren. They're just – and they already run a tight rotation, so I would expect pretty big minutes from both those guys. They're not core values for me, but I would mix them in if I was playing a lot of lineups. McGee is the best floor play on DK tonight. Yeah, if Drummond's out, he'll be a pretty safe option. Even if he only plays 23 minutes, 24 minutes, JaVale McGee is so productive on a point-per-minute basis. He can give you 35 points in 20 minutes. He's done it before. Real quick, Noah, I know you're a Lakers fan, but who is your favorite NFL team? I've always wondered. I'm a huge Ravens fan. I don't really have a favorite NFL team. If I had to pick one, it would be the Panthers, just because they're they're the closest team to where I live. But I'm not a diehard, I don't have a diehard NFL team that I root for. But I'm a big Lakers fan, and I'm a big Florida State fan. Still learning. Thanks so much for your help. Would this lineup be competitive? SGA, Hero, Lonnie Walker, Robinson, Durant, Lyles, Nance, Olynyk. Yeah, that lineup looks pretty good to me. I like that quite a bit. How do you come up with your projections? Any sites you use? I don't put out projections. I can I'll look at projections from other sites, but I don't make my own. I don't know how to. Favorite center on Yahoo? If you're not factoring in price, I think it's Jokic. I just want to try and get up to Jokic. Been tuned into you for 2 years now. Really appreciate it. I appreciate that, Billy. Thank you for tuning in for 2 years, man. That's been a long ass time. Eric Pascal or Gary Harris? Between those two, I would go with Gary Harris. Thanks again, Noah. When I win the big one, I'm coming to Carolina. Steaks and beers on me. Well, I wish you the best of luck, Alec. Thank you for always, being here. I see your name in the comments all the time, so appreciate you tuning in, man. All right, guys, it's about 4:30. I've been live for about an hour. We'll be wrapping things up here real shortly. Any last-minute questions, get them in, and I'll be sure to answer them before we go off. I wish you guys the best of luck tonight. Crazy slate ahead, that's for sure. Still waiting on a ton of news, too. No Drummond news yet. Don't have any news on LeBron or AD, I'm assuming they play, but Drummond's still questionable. John Wall is still questionable, so we're waiting on those. Got to get that Heat starting lineup, too. That Heat starting lineup is going to be really important tonight. Luckily, first game on the slate. Bring back the DFS GOAT. I can't do it. Can't do it. People know who I am now, so just got to go by my real name, I guess. All right, guys. I'm wrapping things up. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the stream as always. Hope I was able to answer all your questions. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. I might not be here tomorrow. I have no idea. But if I do go live, it'll be around the same time, around 3:30 Eastern time. Thank you for tuning in as always, guys. I wish you the best of luck tonight. Hope you win some money. If I'm not in first place in any tournaments, I hope it's one of you guys, all right? Good luck. Good luck, fellas.